Okay, so I just need 1 minute. I'm trying to get the expletive button dialed in. Yeah, okay. I think we got it. So here's a headline that's been making the rounds, and no real surprise there. This one is kind of made for YouTube. Billionaire investor says you're dumb if you buy gold. Now, there was more to it than that. There was an expletive in there, but you get the idea. You saw the thumbnail. And it was an hour and 12-minute conversation. I have to assume only a few of us actually watched it, so let me give you a little bit more than the headline. The clip comes from Club Random with Bill Maher. He's talking to Mark Cuban on his, I guess what you'd call an unscripted podcast, and the topic comes up as a question from Maher about 40 minutes in. He asks about Bitcoin, says he's rooting against it, and he knows Cuban's a fan. And it kind of takes Cuban off guard. He says he actually wants Bitcoin to go down too, so that he can buy some more. And then, because this is Mark Cuban, he immediately goes into pitch mode. And you start a pitch by trying to find common ground. So he asks Maher, have you ever bought gold? Which he has. Maher says he has gold. Everybody likes gold. And then that's when the quotes start pouring out of Cuban. So this is where Cuban says, you know what? If you have gold, you're dumb as fuck. Now Maher, someone who has gold, says his position is pretty small part of his portfolio. He gives the typical answer. It's a hedge against everything else. And then they go back and forth a bit, but by now they've both been drinking for a good 40 minutes. So Cuban isn't just in pitch mode, he's in pitch to some guy at the bar mode. Pitch to a guy you really aren't selling to, but you don't want to leave any question that your opinion is actually a fact. So Cuban goes on to say that gold is not a hedge against anything, it's a store of value. And that's the common ground. I think most of us could agree with that. But then he goes on to say, just get Bitcoin. Gold is a store of value, and so is Bitcoin. At this point, Cuban's talking about ETF positions, derivatives, and he makes the point that that all vaporizes if things go to hell anyway. And then if you do have a physical gold bar in hand, well, someone would beat you up. They'd kill you. They'd take your gold bar anyway, and that means that gold is useless. Now, there are a few takeaways from the conversation, but nothing really new has been said here. Cuban just said it on camera, 3 drinks in with a few 4-letter words on top. Now, Maher, who's more than 3 drinks in, makes a really good point in there. He tells Cuban that he's obsessed with gold. And that's what I was thinking as I was listening, because Maher didn't ask about gold, he asked about Bitcoin. It's Cuban who brought up gold, and he mentioned it as the current champion. And then he tried to tear it down, and that's how you pitch new ideas. So you like gold. Well, what if I could tell you there's something better than gold? And that's what he was doing. His argument wasn't that Bitcoin was good, it was that Bitcoin is like gold, but it's new. Now, my takeaway after watching the conversation is that Maher, who has some percentage of his portfolio in gold, just sees gold as a practical safety net, where Cuban thinks of it as an investment. And if you're Mark Cuban and you've been making investments all day, every day, and you made your wealth from exponential gains on businesses and investments, well, you're going to be pretty numb to any investment that doesn't either take off like a rocket or fail fast based on your involvement. The price of gold is not going to take off because Mark Cuban invested in it, but a flushable wipes company might. I mean, he got in on Dude Wipes, and there shouldn't be any real surprise that he would think buying gold is dumb when he sees how it might actually be more profitable to buy a company that makes wet toilet paper. The big takeaway here, at least for me, is that Bitcoin, the story still requires a comparison to gold to make sense as a store of value. Now, Bitcoin, it's about as speculative as it gets, and I don't think that that's a 3 drinks in opinion. I think it's a pretty well supported historical fact. There are a lot of regulations coming that could further hurt it, but we also know from all-time highs that it could also take off again. We just don't know. But it's not a store of value, it's actually a gamble. Now, whether they know it or not, the reason people trying to defend Bitcoin compare it to gold is that gold has persisted for thousands of years. Store of value, it's never gone to zero. So if you can get people to think of Bitcoin as a store of value as well, you get them to latch onto that same sense of credibility. It's pretty simple. And the comparison between the two, it's being made by people who don't really value gold, but it's being pitched to people who do. Like, if you like gold, then you should also like Bitcoin, which really makes no sense since the two asset classes are about as different as they could possibly be. Now, the reason that I don't simply shrug off the opinion that buying gold is dumb is that maybe there are cases that really don't make sense. When you label gold ownership as an investment, and I'm talking about the metal itself, not the producers, you're expecting it to be more than a store of wealth, more than a hedge to balance out a risk-on portfolio. You're expecting it to make significant gains. And I would say that if we find ourselves thinking about gold as an investment that might make us rich, well, maybe we should just take a minute and listen to someone like Mark Cuban. But the reality here is that very few people view it that way. So Cuban's argument in the first place was really against a straw man version of gold ownership that nobody really has. And I think that probably covers it. Think of gold as a store of value. Don't think of it as an investment that might make you a billionaire, and you're probably in a good place. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. So let us know what you think. Do you think of gold ownership as a diversification, or is it your one and only thing? Is it an investment to you? Let us know. While you're in the comments, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.